Welcome to the off-season, folks. We are ready to embark on the challenge of trying to open up some possible budget space for us because we would like to transition a bit of this team here. Coming off a 96-win season, obviously a very disappointing first-round loss for us. Technically, second round overall in the playoffs because we had the first-round bye, but, first round that we played, only won one game, and just pretty much just got straight-up dominated by the New York Mets here. And as you can see, like I said, we are in a bit of a budget situation. We have negative money available right now. We don't have a lot for extensions, which is a bummer because we would like to extend some guys. And our budget has dropped to $290 million. It was $298 million the past seasons. It's even been in the 300s at some point, but it is now down to $290 million. Which is not great. It's obviously still a huge budget, but it's, dropping in budget is definitely never fun. Especially when we have this situation we have right now where we're going to have to extend some guys and whatnot. And I'm also seeing that because we have a negative budget, the game does this where when you have a negative money available, it'll just auto-adjust these numbers that you have. So, yeah, we definitely are going to have to go in here. All right, so both of the player development budget and the scouting budget are on the baseline for the league. And as you can see, that gives us $5 million in total money. Still not ideal, but we are going to be, like I said, we're going to be moving around some money. We're going to be making some deals, and we've got quite a few options to make decisions on as well here, as well as a couple staff retirements. You can see our first base coach retired. We opted to not bring back our third base coach, so we had to replace both of those guys. And then when it comes to options, quite a bit here. First of all, Nick Lodolo, like I said when I traded for him, I was not expecting him to take his option for $11 million when he's a 60 grade pitcher. He's way too good of a player to only be making $11 million. He wasn't that great for us, but I did not trade for him expecting him to be on next year's team, is what I'm saying. So he'll be entering free agency for us. We have to make an option decision on Nolan Shanuel, which we will be picking up his option. But the thing is, I would like to extend him even more long-term. But right now, we do not have the money for that. Obviously, I would not give him this type of deal. Maybe something like, not even that, maybe something like this. 5 years, 6 years, maybe 7 is the range I would want to give him. Which we would definitely work on this. But even that, I can't really offer that. We have to move around some money. So, we are obviously going to pick up his option here. That is 100% going to happen, so let's just execute that right away. Boom. He is on next year's team. That's a no-brainer. But then these rest of these guys, Brian Wu, it's only $2.5 million. But he was not good for us. He was disappointing. He's a fly ball pitcher. His control, it's still good, but he just gives up way too many home runs to be in this ballpark. So Brian Wu, even at a cheap amount of money, we are going to be voiding his last contract year for a buyout of $600,000. He will not be back on next year's team. Ben Joyce is another bummer for us, but it is going to open up quite a bit of cash for our team this season. He was projected to make $7 million. He will be back next season, but he's on the wrong side of 30. Making $7 million as a reliever who, hasn't ever been great for us. So, Ben Joyce, your time in Anaheim has come to an end. We are going to be avoiding his last contract year as well. Zach Neto, this totally went under the radar for me. I was not planning for this. I was not expecting this to happen. But yeah, he has 2 team options at $20 million because we got a pretty cheap extension here. And he's just such a good player for us. We have to bring him back. At $20 million, he gives us plenty of production. He's just a consistent 3 WAR. Sometimes he busts more for that, 4, 5 WAR. He's turned into a really solid defensive player. The past 3 seasons, he's been really good defensively. It is dropping a little bit, but he is 30. He's at a year-by-year basis at this point. Maybe next year we opt out totally of his deal. But it is a $6 million buyout. But, Zach Neto, he's too good of a player to not be our second baseman. So I'm leaning towards, obviously, probably executing that option, but we'll hang off on it for now. And then Alimber Santa is somebody who I would not be opposed to bringing back, but with our budget situation, I don't think it's going to happen. Then on the corners, things get a bit interesting this season. Dylan Carlson is an expiring contract, obviously has put up 2 fantastic seasons for us, but he is going to be heading into his age 34 season, or his age 33 season. His age 33 season, he's getting up there, and, you know, he doesn't want the most expensive contract, but can we afford to be giving him this? You know, maybe he wants to move some money, but he's probably somebody who is, you know, getting off the team, and I just don't think it's going to be worth a resign at heading into his age 33 season. Obviously, he was very good for us in 2 seasons. He might even win a Gold Glove again, so that would be fantastic to see with an 8 CR, positive arm as well. But yeah, Dylan Carlson, I think his time as a Anaheim Angel has probably come to an end, and that does open up some spots who we have currently on the team. Anthony Gutierrez is once again not arbitration eligible, but he will just be auto-renewed at this $1 million rate that he is at. So he has been really good for us. You know, he's a solid short side platoon player. He hits against lefties. He plays really good defense, has good speed. He's a captain. This is a guy you want. He's got the fragile thing. We might throw in the lab again to try to move this up again like we did last year. But yeah, Anthony Gutierrez, he's in all likelihood going to be back next season for us, so we'll just throw him as the backup left fielder, and you can just, you know that he is the short side platoon guy. So he plays against lefties, so he might, you know, be defensive sub in late innings against righties, depending on who is our left fielder. And then Josh Johnson has kind of played himself out of the out of a role here with us. Kind of stinks, you know. Maybe he gets a shot with us again next season. Maybe we go into the year with him as the left fielder, but he definitely was really unplayable for us in left field last season. He had a solid year in 2030, but last year was just not it. It's not playable, and it was a bummer too because he actually was not playing the worst left field defense like he was the year before, where he had a -6 ZR if you round up. So not great there, but hopefully he's able to bounce back. But he's probably not plan 1 in left field. I would say plan 1 in left field to start the year is Chris Lesnar here. Right now a 45, but potential 65. Obviously going to have big swing and miss in his game, but I mean if he taps into both of these, my God, with 60 range, watch out, folks. One of the many Wisconsin guys we've got in our team, former first-round pick out of Franklin Pierce University, which is in New Hampshire. Yes, I remember that. But Spawn Lesnar here, probably the favorite to be our left fielder next season. Maybe he plays right field, maybe he's left field, but he's going to be in a corner spot for us next season. And even though he's a lefty, he does not drop that much against lefties, so that is good to see. Because you hate lefties who can't hit against lefties. And then we have Khalil Watson here, who we signed to a 1-year deal in the offseason. He put up a decent year for us, put up a 9 ZR if you round up. He did his job, but I'm not going to bring him back at like a couple million. Yeah, he wants a similar deal, but I'm not going to bring him back just to be like a one-war player for us. When I can get that production from a guy like Alvaro Dowd here, who was in AAA for us last year, got hurt at the start of last season. He tore a meniscus in his knee and missed 3 months, which is what delayed him getting a shot on the roster here because Watson kind of solidified himself. And then it was like, well, we might as well just have Dowd in AAA here. But next year, I'm thinking that Dowd is going to be our shortstop. You know, he's got the slappy, not strikeout bat. We might throw him in the lab to get this gap power up too. But he's got that really good shortstop defense, the 70 rating with the 70s across the board here, 65 turn DP. He's a great defender. He's ran into some home runs in the minor leagues too, as you can see. We don't expect this type of bat in the big leagues, but if he can put up like a 70 and 80 WRC plus, you know, obviously it's not ideal to have two positions where you're just all defense, no offense with center and short. but at least our pitching staff is going to have a boost with guys like that at those positions. And then I feel like we have enough bats to help that out with the guys like Shanuel, Soto, Neto, Ohapi, Padilla, and then if we have the big jump in production in a full season for Chris Lesnar that we would expect with this type of bat, I feel like we definitely have enough bats to carry the fact that we're probably going to have a defense first center fielder and shortstop. But that's just my thinking. But Alvaro Dowd here out of UT is going to be right now looking like he's the favorite to be our shortstop. Another guy with crazy facial hair for this day and age with some mutton chops. Just insane. I believe I mentioned Fletcher Clancy at some point last season. He's another interesting bat we have who could be a depth outfielder for us. Another guy who I wouldn't mind playing in center field either at some point. I actually probably prefer him in center over Terrence Keel at this point. It's just Keel is farther along in his career, but Clancy is definitely the better center fielder in my mind over him because he has the more avoid K than he does have BABIP, but he has the BABIP with the 55 potential. 60 gap power is really where it makes a difference. You have 60 gap with 65 speed, and you have the 70 range with 60 error and arm, high leader as well. Putting up back-to-back seasons like this in the minor leagues, this is absolutely a player that we would want to be in the big leagues for us. Maybe not this season. He's probably going to be on the Rule 5 as well. Or he's probably going to be on our 40-man here once we move a little bit on to the offseason. But Fletcher Clancy, definitely a player to be keeping your eye on here. Some more updates on some minor league hitters who are starting to get to that Double-A level where we're like, okay, these guys are legitimate pieces for us maybe. Chris Aquino, first-round pick, 9th overall in 2029. He is the number 17 ranked prospect in baseball right now, a switch-hitting third baseman with some serious power potential. Already has a 60 power. You can see here hit 35 ding-dongs in the California League last season. We called him up the high A, was really good there, or solid there in 99 plate appearances. Obviously, the strikeout rate is not looking great right now. I will be the first one to admit that. You do not want the strikeout rate coming up to the big leagues. But if he can develop this stuff a bit more, maybe we throw him in the lab this year, try to get his Void K up. If he can develop this stuff as he continues to do, this is a legitimate, serious power bat for you. Where does he play for us? Who knows? But this is a bat good enough to where you're like, okay, I'd be willing to take some lesser defense in the corner outfield for a bat like this that can develop you. Like, this is a legitimate 40 home run bat if this develops. So, Aquino, definitely somebody we are keeping our eye on. But we are going to have Kaneda back next season, who I totally forgot about because we literally signed the guy and he played 5 games and then immediately tore his rotator cuff. So obviously not great, but hopefully he is able to still be a productive player for us and is not just going to be like immediately fragile, because that would be a huge bummer for us. But like I mentioned, he was signed 15 per, and it is, it's 5 years guaranteed, or I guess 4 years because the first year was a wash. So we have him 4 years guaranteed, and then we are able to just get out of these 2 years if, he becomes a disaster because of injuries or something. But we are hopeful that's not going to happen. So the actual rotation, probably not going to have Andrew Healy in it here. It'll probably be something like Perez, either Kaneda, then Abel, or Abel, then Kaneda. Then it'll probably be like Gallon, and then Collar. The Milkman. Whatever happened to predictability? The Milkman, the Paperboy. First of all, that's always been one of my pet peeves. What the hell's up with that theme song? You're telling me. So first of all, the lyrics. Whatever happened to predictability? The Milkman, the Paperboy, evening TV. When was the first season of Full House? We're looking this up right now. Full House, first season. 1987. You're telling me evening TV was not a thing in 1987? Did David Letterman not fucking exist? Am I misunderstanding what evening TV means? Am I misunderstanding when milkmen stopped being a thing? I had a milkman come to my house when I was a very small child, And I was born in 1996, so what's the deal with that? Explain it to me, Full House. I'm also doing some realizing here that Andrew Healy, who we have as, he's been like our stopper the past couple seasons. We have him listed as a starter because like I said, I thought that he might be a starter for us because I forgot that we had Kaneda. And he still, I guess, possibly could be a starter because, as you can see here, he is actually projected to jump from 2 million to 8.4 in arbitration. And it's like, the second I saw that, I was like, holy shit, we have to do something about this because I don't want to pay a stopper $8 million, so he's probably gone. But I'm looking at his page here, and they're saying my scout thinks he's a 60 grade starter? Wasn't he like a 55 grade? So I don't understand. So he's a 55 grade reliever, even with the stuff that ticks up. But then as a starter, when it ticks down, he is a 60 grade starter. Maybe we trade him? Like, maybe we don't pay him $8 million and instead we trade him and get value for him? Like, what? How many years does he have left on? So he's got 3 years of arbitration left, and they're going to be pretty pricey at 8.4, 13.5, and 16.5 projected. All right, so here is what we are going to be doing with the development lab this offseason. First things first, we have Amari Collar. We're going to be trying to work on his pitch movement here. He has the 45 with the 55 potential. We're going to try to tap into some of that, maybe even possibly get maybe even a potential boost to 60 here. We'll have to see how things work out. He has the high work ethic, so I feel like that works in our favor here. And then Chris Lesnar, we're throwing him in for gap power. I thought about doing it for... The thing is, I kind of want to, like, just ensure... Not that, like, it's a sure thing, but, like, I want to get this gap power up to 60. I mean, he has huge, a 20 growth potential between 55 gap power up to 75. So I'm kind of really trying to tap into this and then hope that he can, that encourages him to keep tapping into all this stuff like he has been. And I don't want to mess with the Void Ks because, I mean, like, obviously it's going to, maybe we get a boost for up to 45. What is that really going to do for him? He's going to strike out a lot, I know that. But, I mean, he did strike out a lot. So, I don't know. Now that I'm seeing this, I think we are going to try that. We're going to try that. We are going to throw Mr. Chris Lesnar here into the lab for... or that was the thing, is that gap power is actually... gap power is easier to improve, whereas the two-strike approach, which is the avoid K thing... Yes, that is the avoid K thing, is a hard improvement. But I think it's worth... I don't know. I mean, he's already solid, but it's if we can get a little bit off of this, I feel like it's worth it. So we're gonna go for that. We're gonna go two strike approach for Chris Lesnar here. So the rest of this group here, Alvaro Dowd, our shortstop, who I believe we put in for gap power last season. Yes. And he was successful in that. We are going to run him right back in gap power. Right now, what we're thinking is that he's probably going to be our starting shortstop next year. So if we can get this gap power up to 50, maybe even get a potential boost up to 55, who knows what could happen? Suddenly he's looking like a much better hitter. With some 45, which obviously isn't the greatest power, but he can run into a few home runs for you. Obviously never going to walk a ton, but he limits strikeouts very well, so at least he has that plate skill going for him. Fletcher Clancy, we are going to be trying to improve his quality of contact because he has 50 out of 55. We can get this up a bit. I feel like that's going to make him even a better hitter. Obviously, having a 65 avoid K with 60 gap, 65 speed is a solid doubles profile, but if we can mix in some BABIP in that, I mean, the 50 BABIP is still solid, but if we can get this BABIP up even more, he's suddenly even way more interesting of a hitter. Already a guy who I'm thinking of as, like, possibly even this upcoming season center fielder for us, because I'm trying to, see with what we have rather than going out and spending big money on somebody for like the fourth straight offseason. We got to get our dudes in there, and Fletcher Clancy is a guy that I think is, has the potential to be like a legitimate dude for us. Obviously not a superstar, but I just love this profile. I love the 70 range. He's got the high leader. Fletcher Clancy, we're going to be trying to improve his quality of contact. Anthony Murphy, we are going to be trying to tap into this power to possibly make him an even more viable hitter. Right now, he's looking like, a solid hitter with the 60 gap, the 60 power, the 55 eye, and then an average BABIP, but, 65 power. Suddenly looking a bit even more tempting there to play him in a corner, maybe even a starter type if he improves that a little bit more. Another guy who has high leader. He does have low work ethic, but he has a bunch of other teal personality traits to where it's like, it feels like, he has way more teal than he has the one low work ethic. So I'm fine with putting him in the dev lab, trying to tap into this 65 power and then possibly even getting a boost, like I always say. Luis Luna, plate discipline. He, self-explanatory, Luis Luna here. We're doing a similar thing with Giandrea here, who they have very similar profiles. Giandrea is a much more interesting defender, as you can see here, with a bunch of teal all over the infield. We do have George Lombard still under team control, and he's only projected to make like a little under $2 million in arbitration, so we might run him back as like the backup infielder. The thing about Lombard that I don't like is that even though he does have the pop potential, he's not as good of a hitter against righties, whereas Giandrea is a switchy, and he's able to hit pretty well against both as a contact guy, avoid Ks, give you a little double potential. And then he has the 45 power against both sides, whereas just a quick little look at George Lombard here, quick look at his profile here, he has none of the teal that the Giandrea has, where he has the void K, and he obviously gets a pretty big boost against lefties here, but that is against lefties, so it's short side, and you're not playing lefties nearly as much as you are playing righties. So Lombard, he might be on the outs, but he's interesting enough to keep around, probably. Especially since he's only projected to be making like 1.8. Probably going to keep him around, plus he has an option year. So George Lombard probably going to be back next year, but the fact that he's way better against lefties, and you can see very pedestrian against righties, definitely makes him a little bit less intriguing. And I've known this the whole time. It's just, I'm explaining to you why I look at somebody like Giandrea a bit more favorably than I do with Lombard at this point, because I just think that Giandrea has a bit more versatility in his game to be able to play against righties more often than Lombard, who, they're both pretty pedestrian, especially since Lombard still does have the power, but, Giandrea, younger, cheaper, but Lombard probably on his way out of the mix here. But he still has the speed, he still has the defense, so he's not a useless player, obviously. Obviously the past couple of years have been down for him, but, hopefully he can, figure some things out, maybe get some more ABs here short side, and we've really tried to utilize this lefty, this lefty feaster profile he could possibly have, maybe be like the infield Gutierrez for us. But enough of that, let's go back to the dev lab here and actually talk about these other dev lab guys. So Luis Luna is a type where he has a very good gap power, potential, 5 growth and power and eye. I decided to go for eye with him because he has this speed and base running ability. So I'm like, this guy is a real scrappy player. If we can get him on base, he's going to be wreaking havoc. He's going to be swiping bags. We're probably going to mess with his strategy. I love that the AI is constantly doing this and pumping guys up to be aggressive. We'll mess with this in a bit, but we can make him steal more. This is a profile that should be able to steal a ton, and if we can tap into some more eye potential, that just makes me think that he's going to be working the doubles with the gap power speed combo. He's going to be getting some little singles, and he's, possibly going to be working some walks too, and just maximizing his ability to get on base and manufacture advances by moving up on the base paths with his speed. I don't know why I phrased that so weirdly, but Luis Luna, we opted for the eye with him. as opposed to the power with Giandrea, because I felt like, very similar power I thing here, but Giandrea does not have the speed profile that Luis Luna does, so we opted to try to go for power with him over speed. Pretty self-explanatory in my mind. And then we also threw Gordy Henning, last year's second-round pick out of Texas Tech, into the lab here. We are going to be tapping in, or trying to tap into, some plate discipline for him, just because, right now it is a 35 out of 45. It is by far his weakest skill. The rest of the stuff is already developing quite well. I'm going to trust that he can keep developing this as he has been. He's got the good speed profile, good defense. He has really good work ethic. So I'm hoping that he's going to be able to get a boost in the eye here and possibly even bump up the potential to a 50. Obviously, I know that's rare, but it has happened for us, and we've gotten boost with that in the past. So if Gordy Henning can get his potential eye up to 50, suddenly things are looking much more intriguing, where he has a way better profile. Still, obviously, a really good profile, but the eye is not great, but he does have the potential to have 65 avoid K, so he still has that plate skill going for him, although last year he did not really show it. He did in the minors, or he did in rookie ball, but he's way too good for rookie ball. And A-ball did not really show this avoid K skill, 65 potential, but it is still early on in his career, so we'll see how things continue to develop for him in that skill. And then the last one was Chris Lesnar. So these are the 8 guys we're going with here. Also, I might have mentioned this, but I might not have. Olimber Santa, we did indeed go in here, and we executed the option on Zach Neto, so he's going to be back for next season. And then we voided the option year on Santa, and I forgot that his increase in payroll was because he is a free agent this season. And the idea of re-signing him was to buy out 1 year free agency. So he is a pending free agent. We're not going to be able to trade him here. And unfortunately, he only wants like $10 million, which I would be interested in bringing him back at that price. That's why I gave him that money. But with our budget situation right now, it's not really something I want to do. Honestly, Healy at 8.4, we might try to bring him back and just kind of have Healy as like that type of guy on our team rather than Santa. And 10 million, I'm obviously not going to QO him. I'm not going to QO any of Wu, Watson, Santa, Joyce, Carlson. Carlson wants like 13.6. We could talk him then a little bit, but I don't want to give him a multi-year deal. So I'm thinking Carlson's time on this team is also come to an end. The interesting thing here is Jeremiah Estrada, who had a good year for us as like a single inning reliever last year. Striking at 31.8% of batters. 22 shutdowns, 9 meltdowns, but like a very limited role, and I guess he's like that elite type of reliever. So he only made $8.9 million for us, but he currently wants $20 million for multiple years. So I'm tempted to give him a QO and have him like decline it. Like if he wants a multi-year like big deal like that, I think that we should QO him and like roll the dice on getting a extra draft pick, because that's generally my guideline for doing this. If a guy wants more, especially if it's more for multiple seasons, then he would then is higher than the QO. In my mind, he's probably going to decline the QO. That's usually the way I go about these things, because generally if a guy is like, hey, I want multiple years, if you go 1 year and say, okay, what if we go 1 year, 18 million? Boom. Okay, he wants multiple years, so what if we go 1 year, 18.9, which is literally the QO. He doesn't want that. So he's declining straight up 1 year, 18.9. Makes me think that maybe if we piss him off, you know what I mean? Like if he's already like, I don't want to extend. So if we go like, hey, how about that 18.9? How about that right in? Boom, he's not interested in the negotiations. So then we go, okay, well, we're gonna submit a QO on you. I think that's just what we're gonna do here. Jeremiah Estrada, obviously was good for us last year, was not good for us when he came over at the deadline the year before. Let's see if we can get ourselves a extra draft pick by throwing a QO on him, because it doesn't look like he's going to accept 18.9 for 1 year. He wants at least 2 years. So, it makes sense, but we're gonna do it. We're gonna see how that goes. Oh, I should also mention that LeBaron Johnson is somebody who we don't have on the 40-man anymore, and I would have to re-sign him to bring him back, which we are not going to do because he tore his rotator cuff in May, and it looks like he might have had a setback on it as well. Yes, he has indeed had a setback on it. Is that going to be in... Yeah, literally just like 2 days ago, he had a setback. Miss another So he was diagnosed with an 8-month torn rotator cuff, had a setback, and he's going to miss another 15 months. Yeah. Your career might be over, buddy. When you come back from this, I don't think you're going to be throwing 97, 99 anymore, and it will not be in our organization. All right, so when it comes to multiplayer packages here for Jacob Miller, this is just a total garbage package. Like, it's just, I mean, this DH guy is like a 29-year-old. He's absolutely nothing. He's a quad A guy. I don't really care about this dude. And he's just straight up a DH. He literally can't play anywhere else. I know about this guy because he starts with the Royals in this. Didn't pan out in my Royals thing either. But Hunter Owen is definitely not somebody I'm interested in. And then these other guys are just like total nonsense throw-ins. Jeff Nielsen stinks. Dan Sharp he stinks. And then this Rays deal would be interesting if I had if I wasn't trying to cut salary, cut budget by trading Miller. It might be interesting to pick up Mead, and then also if we had the opportunity to play him, because I love this profile. He does not strike out. He walks enough. He hits enough home runs. Home runs are average, but he's got the 70 gap, the 70 avoid K. Now, it is 70 gap with 30 speed, so that definitely, isn't the most ideal thing. But you can see here he's had some pretty insane doubles number, but it did come down last year. And still, I do like Curtis Mead a lot in real life, because I'm a big Aussie guy in real life. Big fan of all the Aussie guys. Used to play COD with a bunch of... Didn't play. I used to hang out with a bunch of Aussie guys in the Call of Duty scene back in the day. Back in my heyday, back in like the 2013 era, before this channel started. And then if I change his position to a starter, one more guy pops up in Starlin Kaba, who is interesting enough. He is fragile, which is not ideal, obviously, but he has a interesting profile. 65 avoid K and the 65 I, so he's not going to strike out, and he's going to give you a bunch of walks. Obviously not going to have a gap power, but he does have a decent BABIP, and he's got this really good stolen base profile with the base running as well, the 70-70 on the aggressiveness ability and base running. That's really good. Paired with this I and this avoid K, he gets on base, he can wreak havoc for you. This is like a leadoff type guy, if you play him enough. I'm not sure if you play enough in our system, but he's absolutely somebody who I would be interested in having. He's out of options. We have traded with the Phillies before in getting a depth, backup infielder guy who gave us some pinch running and some decent bat off the bench in Bob Moore before. Obviously, Bob Moore was a captain. This guy, he's just a dog lover, which, I mean... Fair play to you, so am I. But, can play some solid infield defense as well. Can he play some outfield? I believe he can. He can play a little bit of outfield. I think in real life he might have even started as an outfielder. I believe Starlin Kaba, he sounds familiar. I might have traded for him in the very short-lived White Sox series, I want to say. I think that sounds familiar. But, yeah. I think we might do this. And just because we are planning on trading Mike Broyhill here because he's fragile, he's obviously going to have a decent amount of value, and I just don't want to extend a guy like this with a fragile injury proneness. So we go and shop him, but we were only able to do single player because I don't have any multiplayer shop packages left. I haven't done the prospects yet, but I would like to get like major league ready talent, not prospects. So just to see like what his value is out there for a single player. Obviously, it would take somebody pretty special to get us interested in single player. But there is a lot of interest in Mike Broyhill here, and it's significant stuff. Like right away, boom, you see right here, you got Hurston Waldrop, who looks like he's a pretty decent arm here. He is extended. He's got 2 more years at 9.9, which is, not the worst. Obviously, trading for somebody is making money is us taking on more money, which is not really what we wanted to go to in heading into this offseason. But if there's a thing out there that's going to help us, we'd be dumb not to take it, because Broyhill is still not even arbitration eligible. So, obviously Broyhill would be productive for somebody. We're not trading him because he's bad. We're trading for him because we don't think he's going to be able to be like an everyday player playing less than 100 games per season. It's just not going to happen for him. So yeah, we've been over why we're trying to trade him here, but Waldrop looks pretty good. We know who Hurston Waldrop is. Owen Murphy here, also looking like a pretty good starter for them. He's somebody who's pitched, he's been on their team since 2027, and he's been really good in multiple, I guess he had a cup of coffee in 2028, really good in 2029. So in 2028 and 2030, he had limited... Okay, so in 2030, he had a couple interesting shoulder and elbow things, which makes me a bit weary. Also, shoulder inflammation in 2026, not great there. Probably a bit of an injury risk, possibly fragile risk. So, and also he's just trading straight up for a 60-60. It's not the worst thing, but. For a 60 guy, I should say. But Murphy, definitely not the best guy here. I just wanted to mention that these guys were here because right off the bat you see T-Link. But, just scrolling through more T-Link. This guy, very interesting to me. Obviously, Roman Anthony is very good as well. But he is fragile. I don't want to trade for another fragile guy. Whereas Mike Moore... This guy could just, obviously a bit less, he's a 65 as opposed to a 70 center fielder, but he does have the 60 center field rating. He has had a positive ZR in center field last year for Worcester because he's not really getting a shot in the big leagues. He got a little bit of a shot with them last season here at age 25. But he's somebody who could just immediately take over center field for us. We could do a center field for center field swap, essentially, with this Mike Moore guy, which I'm not opposed to doing. He's definitely among the guys I'm most interested in with some of the guys I've skimmed through here available. So he's somebody I've got my eye on. And then we would probably try to add in something else. I will be doing a multiplayer package once we advance a day, but right now I cannot look at that because I don't have any more shops available for the multiplayer one. But yeah, Mike Moore, he's somebody I'm interested in here. Colson Montgomery, he's making too much, obviously very good, although kind of underwhelming the past few seasons. 2 WAR with a slightly above average WRC plus, even a below average last year. Not really worth this type of money, if you ask me. Connor Griffin. Interesting. Connor Griffin has turned into a quite solid player, spark plug class type, high leader, work ethic, loyalty, adaptability. Got a really good stolen base profile. Can give you a few bombs, also give you a few base knocks at the BABIP, some doubles as well. Some really good defense, 80 grade in left and right, 65 grade in center. He's been playing all over the place for them. He's 25. Boom. Connor Griffin here is looking like a dude, looking like somebody who I'd be interested to even trade for straight up. He also has not even hit arbitration yet because he's only played 1 year, little over 1 year in the major leagues. Connor Griffin, absolutely somebody we are going to be having our eye on here. Maybe this drops when he moves to center, but still, we would definitely look to be getting Connor Griffin and somebody. Or, obviously I don't really know what the value is because I haven't actually gone in and, done the deep dive of, maneuvering around and trying to submit offers and see what they say, which we will do. But I'm just kind of scrolling through, giving you guys the lay of the land of some of the interesting names that are popping out to me. So Mike Moore, Connor Griffin, and then there were some interesting pitchers. The Reds were offering me their first-round pick from 2029, who I guess was a high school pitcher for them. Yes, out of a high school in New York, which is crazy, 21 overall. And he's still in rookie ball, or I guess he pitched 1 game in A ball. Interesting prospect. No, honestly, now that I'm seeing it, I wasn't actually considering this. I just thought it was interesting that they were offering a 65 potential pitcher. This guy's not actually interesting. 45 sinker is his third pitch. No thanks. I wasn't actually interested in him, but I thought that was interesting. I wasn't actually thinking about doing that trade. I just thought it was interesting that he had a 65 potential. We also had, I know who this guy is. I don't know how to pronounce his name. Transfer from Sac State in real life. Played with Arkansas this year. 65 range. You know, if I'm going to trade for a guy who's going to be like looks like more of like a Zach Neto bat where he's just a bunch of green all over the place. But he has performed really solidly with the bat at least the past 2 seasons with Cincinnati. Did not work out with Pittsburgh, which is crazy. And then just comes to Cincinnati, and he just had a monster year for them last year. 38 bombs, almost 100 ribbies, 882 OPS. But he is somebody who, like, I mean, he put up an 8 ZR. So, like, he can give you some, where was that? That's a second base, okay. So if I traded for a guy like this, I would want him to be a shortstop. We could play him there, but it's 55 potential at shortstop, not really what I'm looking for. He's also about to be 28, so he's and he's $5 million at ARB, so not really what I want, but he's an interesting player nonetheless. Sal Stewart has an extension, no thanks. Drew Romo is a very interesting catcher, but we don't need a catcher. If I did, this would be very interesting to me. What else did I see? The Marlins were offering Bryce Ranier, who's this insane defensive shortstop they have, but he is fragile as well, so we're not interested there. Jonathan Whitmer is also fragile, not interested there. Daniel Cuvée is a big bopping first baseman type, but he is currently getting extended by them. So not the biggest extension, but we're not really trying to pick up a first base type because we want a guy who can play a prime position for us. This guy was the one who really stood out to me. The Royals offering this 70 potential 65 grade pitcher. Obviously, a bit of a bump here in arbitration, but this guy is absolutely somebody. Like, if we pick up this guy, he jumps Padilla for me as like the number one guy we want to extend long term. It would go this guy, Pitzer. It would be Tyler Pitzer. It would be Juan Padilla, and then it would be Shanuel as like the order of the top 3 guys we want to extend long term. I mean, this guy is legitimate, like, ace material for you. The 50 grade changeup, not the greatest, but he has 60 stamina. So much teal on here. Former second-round pick out of USC. He's had some really solid seasons. First came up, had a cup of coffee in 2028, was not good. Then looks like he started in the bullpen and then went to the rotation. It was really good. Had a bit of a mediocre year in 2030, and then last year, just boom, breakout season in 2031 with a 4 WAR, a 6 R-WAR. This guy might even win the Cy Young with numbers like that. Limits home runs, which we like to see. And yeah, Tyler Pitzer here. I really like this guy. He's got high leader too. Really good control, so he ground baller, doesn't walk guys, has a good enough pitch mix, really good 2-pitch mix, and then like a third averages changeup, which honestly, it might even be somebody I would look to possibly put in the lab as like an improve your bad off-speed pitch guy. But Pitzer's very interesting to me. And then they've also got Elijah Green here, who we saw had a 29 ZR in center field for Kansas City. So, like, if we could maybe do some sort of package. Now, obviously, Elijah Green is making a ton of money for a guy who doesn't really hit, but gives you. I guess he's been fine enough with the bat. I mean, he had a 40 home run season last year. I mean, my God. It would take a lot. It would take a lot to get Pitzer and Green, but those are 2 very intriguing players. Now, obviously, Green is fragile, but he's been fragile, and he manages to, he posts, folks. And this guy, I mean, he's a better defender than Broyhill is. It would take a serious package to get Pitzer and Green, but I am not opposed to doing that because those are 2 guys that help our team right now. And I feel like we have some prospects to where we could do that, which I might look into here in a bit. But then some other dudes like Walker Jenkins jumps out because he has the blue ink, but he's fragile. But he's another guy who's fragile, but he posts. He's fragile, but he must be like a fragile, more trending towards normal guy. And he's not the greatest center fielder. He has a 65 range, which you think would play in center, but for whatever reason, some of these guys where the game is just like, oh, this guy has 65 range with a really good arm, and he can't play center. Like him and Dylan Carlson. But then there's other guys who have 65 range and you put them in center and they're just like fine. And for whatever reason, these ratings here don't translate to here for some guys. Like he only has a 55 grade in center field, but for whatever reason, there'll be another guy who has these exact ratings here, but his center field rating is like a 60 or a 65. And it's like, why is it so much different? But Walker Jenkins, very, very good player. For whatever reason, Minnesota has not signed him long term, and they are just rolling the dice in ARB every single season. But why am I picking up pitching stats? Absolute monster player here. Just posts, hits a ton of doubles, home runs, drives in runs. He has been dropping, but he still plays a ton. But he's also not somebody I'm probably not looking to trade for. Especially since he's getting towards the end of team control here, and he's going to be somebody who's going to be wanting a huge extension. Not really what we're trying to do by trading Broyhill. So far, what I'm looking through here, the Royals, now obviously getting Pitzer and Green is a bit of a pipe dream, but if we could manage to do it, that's something I'm very interested in. And also, I just realized that this first baseman they have, his name is Zion Tanks. Zion Tanks. I don't think this guy's a real-life player, but a 10th round pick who doesn't strike out, hits bombs for you, is a fan. Of course he's a fan favorite. His name's Zion Tanks. He doesn't strike out and he hits bombs. I mean, this guy. I mean, if this is the real universe, this guy's my favorite player in the world. I mean, Zion Tanks. What a guy. What a name. What an absolute monster. If we needed a first baseman DH type, I would be all in on this guy, but we do not. Justin Lampkin. This is the other guy on the Cardinals. Their other dude who just posts, and they've got him signed at like a very reasonable deal here through age 31. I mean, the Cardinals might have just, So I prefer Lampkin over, if we scroll back here, as we're taking forever to make a decision here. I prefer Lampkin over Pitzer because Lampkin's done it for multiple seasons, Pitzer's only done it for one, and Pitzer has a questionable third pitch. Now, 50 is still good, but he has two, elite pitches, and then just kind of like a pitch that kind of strags along, but it's good enough so far. So Pitzer, and he's also only done it for one season. Now, obviously, it's intriguing if we can get Pitzer and Elijah Green to play center field, but if we talking about just straight up pitchers who I prefer, and I'm not opposed to playing somebody in our system at center field, like I've said, like Fletcher Clancy might be our center fielder this year, which I'm totally fine with. Justin Lampkin here. Now, obviously, our pitching staff is a bit crowded. We're going to have Kaneda coming back, so it'd be like Perez, Abel, Collar, Gallen. Perez, Kaneda, Abel, Collar. And so, if we picked up this guy, we could probably maybe try to trade somebody. Maybe we try to flip Abel. That could be something. Flip Abel. Maybe try to get out from under Zach Gallen here for the next 2 years of his contract. But Lampkin's just that level of pitcher to where, if you can get a guy like that, pretty solid. Now, he is a low work ethic intelligence guy, but that surely has not stopped him from being an absolute monster in this sim. I mean, this guy is damn good. Damn good. I mean, look at these numbers. You got to prefer this guy over Pitzer. He's 27, so he's basically the same age as Pitzer. He's done it for multiple seasons, 4 seasons of legit ace type stuff. He's got 3 really good pitches as opposed to a 4th that kind of straggles along, and it's a splitter, which is very interesting. Lampkin here, absolutely somebody we are he's probably the top of the list right now. He's the top of the list, and then we could maybe get in some like throw in or something. But we would obviously workshop it a bit. But Lampkin, absolutely somebody we're looking at here. I highly doubt there's somebody who I prefer. Charlie Condon. Highly doubt there's somebody I prefer more than Lampkin here. Yeah, absolutely. Lampkin's he's the target right now. Absolutely. See, this is the type of guy I was talking about, where when I was saying some guys with 65 range are just better in center field than other guys with 65 range, you would think that Walker Jenkins with 65 range and 75 arm would be able to play center field, but for whatever reason it was a 50 for him, and he had like a -8 CR in center field. Now this guy has barely played in the big leagues, but he's got a 65 range with a worse arm, but he has a really good error, and his center field is 60, as you can see here, put up an insane defensive season in center field for Memphis last year. So this is absolutely a guy we might want to look to throw into as like a Broyhill replacement contender, or like a possible guy who could compete with somebody in center field for us as like a throw-in with this Lampkin deal. Not a throw-in, obviously. This guy's more than a throw-in, but I mean, boom, suddenly, Pitzer Green pipe deal looking even better here, because you don't have Green, who is fragile. You've got Brunson, who's barely played. These guys aren't using him. So, are they both from TCU? We are indeed. They're both from TCU. This guy's older than Broyhill. So what probably happened was this guy got drafted second round, and then Broyhill got drafted the literal next season in the 6th round by the Mariners. So we're trading Broyhill for his previous, the guy he was backing up, probably the guy he was playing when he was playing right field when this guy was in center field, and then they moved him to center for his junior season or whatever, and then he popped off. So yeah, I mean, this is absolutely something we're gonna be workshopping and see if we can make happen. They're saying no way, and they're like, hey, we would do this for one of these guys. And it's like, I would not be opposed to giving them Lombard and taking on Brunson, because like I've talked about, Lombard's kind of on the outs anyways, and we have a guy like Giandrea Morfin, we have Luis Luna, we've got a couple interesting backup bats who give us a similar level of production to Lombard. So, I mean, I would not be opposed to just straight up saying, hey, Broyhill and Lombard for Lampkin and Brunson, that's a win in my eye. Absolutely. Even somebody like Dave Peter, who is our backup catcher, now obviously gave us a very good season, and the whole reason we traded that guy to the Phillies at the deadline was because we had Peter, and Peter profiles more as a backup. There's also Gutierrez, who we could trade, but he has a role in our team. He's a captain. We like him. But yeah, Lombard is sticking out to me as somebody, or maybe even Mick Abel, as somebody who, because I said we might flip Abel in a trade if we pick up this guy, because we're just going to have such a loaded staff that we kind of need to make a move. But I'm honestly probably preferring to like put Lombard in this, and then if we still decide to flip Abel, we can flip him then to like, fill other spots rather than like doing it all in one deal. Philadelphia, they appear to be interested. Yes, Jacob Miller. I offered them Jacob Miller for Starlin Caba was who they offered to me, if you remember, the backup infield type, which makes it even more of an interesting reality if we decide to trade Lombard, which I'm thinking is the move at this point. So we pick up Caba, and then I also said, hey, give us this reliever that you have in AAA who you're not using. Has all three of his options, hasn't even made his MLB debut yet. He expects to be playing there. He's from Illinois State. High work ethic, high adaptability. Interesting enough, really good changeup. He's an interesting depth reliever piece. And then I also said, hey, give us this backup catcher type, who also makes it possible to trade Dave Peter, but I think Dave Peter is obviously better. Max Koffer is probably more of like a third catcher type. He'd be our AAA catcher is how I'd view him. But we also still have Kevin Hawks, too. So, quite a bit of catcher depth here in the system. He is absolutely the third piece of this deal. But I mean, hey, they're like saying we'll give you all three of these guys if you throw in any of these. And I already know that none of these guys are good because I'm seeing Blake Thurgood on here, which is everybody's favorite Aussie knuckleballer. It hasn't worked for him, folks. He's finally in the full seasons here. In A-ball last year, he actually put a decent campaign together as a reliever, and then he pitched more games this year in high A and was just straight up bad with a bad home run rate. I mean, this guy is just never going to be anything. You know what? We're not gonna trade. We're gonna give them the 26-year-old. We're gonna take him off this shortlist that we made entirely for him. And we're going to throw on this Korean guy. So we'll give them Jacob Miller and this Korean guy. We are going to be picking up Starlin Kaba, who I went over. He is a backup infield type. Could give you some starter possibility as well. Chase Tucson, a lefty reliever from Illinois State. And then Max Coffer, like a third catcher, really good captain, high work ethic, intelligence type. That deal is done. And now, since we've picked up another interesting infield backup, we're just going to go ahead and do it. We're going to go straight up here. We are going to add George Lombard, and we're going to do Mike Broyhill and George Lombard straight up for Justin Lampkin, 70-grade starter who has put up absolutely insane seasons here with St. Louis. Stop hogging all the starters. He's extended through his age 31 season, which is 2035, at a very reasonable rate for this level of pitcher. Justin Lampkin's going to come here, and he's also going to help us with the fact that we don't have any lefties in our rotation. So Justin Lampkin, boom, helping us all over the place. The Texas A&M Aggie, they just advanced, I believe, in the Supers yesterday. Justin Lampkin, boom, let's pick him up here, along with Chase Brunson, who is going to compete with Fletcher Clancy, along with a few other guys, for our center field spot heading into the season. And we're trading Broyhill for Chase Brunson, who was his teammate at TCU. We're picking up all the Texas guys. Adding all of Texas guys as opposed to also all the guys we have from Wisconsin. So yeah, we're going to do this. Broyhill and Lombard to the St. Louis Cardinals for Justin Lampkin and Chase Brunson. Boom. We've done it. We've made the deal. It almost crashed, but slightly. Okay. Only slightly? So what did it drop down to? 76. I don't know exactly what it was at before, but it's fine. We don't have to worry about that too much. It'll come back up. We'll be winning games here. So Mike Broyhill, we're gonna throw him on the interesting short list that we made because we want to see how his career goes. We want to see how Mike Broyhill goes for the St. Louis Cardinals. You know, maybe this is a total win-win for both sides, and he manages to stay healthy. And he puts together a really good career with St. Louis, and then Lampkin helps us win, you know, maybe a World Series or two. But yeah, hopefully it works out for both sides. I feel justified in my decision because I feel like we have picked up a similar guy who can play center field for us, and on top of that, also improved our pitching. That is, you know, what it is. We want the super level pitching here in Anaheim. Very funny, Mets trying to give me Ryan Ritter. They're like, maybe they'll be stupid and they'll think Ryan Ritter's going to do this for a whole season. I don't think so. Get that out of here, you bastards. I also thought this guy from the Giants was interesting, Jeff Van Wingarden, aside from having a sick name, also a really solid player. Righty bat, so that he would not be able to like platoon with Gutierrez. He'd be playing both ways, because he is a good hitter both ways. But yeah, 60 range, a 60 grade in right field, he would absolutely be very good out there. He hasn't really ever had a huge season defensively. Were they playing him in center? They were. So this is like a Dylan Carlson type for us, where Dylan Carlson keeps getting thrown out in these situations where they try him in center field for whatever reason, and he just doesn't work there. We play him in right field. He's liable to have some Dylan Carlson type years where instead of having this negative 10 ZR, boom, he puts up a 5, 6, 7, maybe even 8 ZR season in right field for us, and he's a gold glove defense corner outfield with a really good bat who gives you like some little bit above average league power, a little bit above league average power, 55 power, some decent eye, decent gap with a really good contact bat who he doesn't strike out. He's going to give you some doubles, or he's going to give you some base knocks. Yeah, so Wingarden is I would say he's probably the most interesting guy to me, simply because I don't think that the Marlins guy is going to be able to play a corner, and we obviously like defense here in Anaheim. So Wingarden's probably the most interesting guy for me. There is also this guy that the Blue Jays are offering. He was an 11th round pick in 2027. He's a switch hitter, and he's actually better against lefties, but he's not a slouch against righties. He's still very good against righties. He just has a little bit better gap against lefties. So very, very interesting player here. 60 range, another guy who it looks like they actually do play him in the corners, and he hasn't put up any insane ZRs in the corners, but he's another guy who I would say him and Wingarden are probably the most interesting because he has this really good gap, 60 potential power, really good, not really good, but like solid speed ratings with some good base running and stealing aggressiveness. And he's never really gotten a chance in the big leagues, but he has torn up the minors. He had some insane year in AAA last year. Did he get hurt? He had a sprained ankle that took him out for 2 to 3 months. That's crazy. So yeah, he got hurt last year, but he was really, really good when he played. The year before that, he was good in, for whatever reason, was an A-ball and just absolutely tore that league up, as you would expect for a guy his age. Came up to AAA, skipped the AA entirely, and was really solid in 119 ABs at basically 3 different levels. So yeah, this guy, definitely an interesting player. I would say him and Wingarden are my favorites. I don't know who I would prefer more, to be honest, between Astorga. That's his name, Astorga, right? Astoria, something like that. And Wingarden. Let's compare these two fellas here. So Wingarden's got the better overall contact. The gap power goes to Astorga, so that's kind of a, I wouldn't say a wash because he does have better gap than he has contact, but it kind of, you just get one or the other with him. Wingarden does have better power. Or no, they have even power. Astorga has better eye, but Wingarden doesn't strike out. Not that he strikes out a ton anyways. Whoops. Did not mean to do that. And then Astorga is, like I said, a little bit better against lefties, but he's not a slouch against righties. It just comes down to would we prefer to have a guy who hits a ton more doubles, or would we prefer to have a guy who's probably going to hit for an eye average and still gives you a decent amount of doubles. And then Astorga gives you some more base running than Wingarden does too. And that's the thing is Astorga has this gap power with the 55 speed, whereas Wingarden doesn't have that great speed. And then if you take a look at the defense, they're pretty similar. It's just that when they both have 60 range, it just Wingarden gives you the error, which isn't too important, and Astorga gives you a little bit better arm. So they're very comparable. It would probably just come down to, and he does have the potential for growth, Astorga does. So it would probably just come down to, for me, but like I was saying, it would probably come down to which team I'm able to squeeze more out of, because I don't want to trade a 60 grade starter in Abel for a 50 grade corner outfielder straight up. So it would basically just come down to who do we think would give us a better package? Do the Blue Jays have more to offer around Astorga, or do the Giants have more to offer around Wingarden? And holy cow, we're looking at the Giants, what they could have to offer. And the Giants have William Schmidt in the big leagues. He's thrown 19 big league innings, and he was like fine. He actually got pretty lucky with the ERA plus. Gave up a bit too many home runs, but he's looking like he could be a solid reliever for somebody. At 26 years old, William Schmidt finally making it to the big leagues. Congratulations to him. I guess he did it in Montreal too in 2030, but I guess got traded to them last offseason. So yeah, William Schmidt suddenly looking like a valuable bullpen piece for a team. Honestly, I mean, we're looking at packaging for a reliever, or for things around Wingarden. I mean, William Schmidt here, high leader with the work ethic intelligence. This is a bunch of interesting looking profile here. Maybe get him in our system behind our defense. We mess with his strategy to where they're not like making him like throw like pitch around a ton or whatever. I'm also just seeing that the Giants definitely have the better system to pick from. Absolutely. I mean, I've seen that they've got this David Ochoa guy who is an 80 grade potential, only average accuracy, but even OSA, which is low, both think he has an 80 grade potential. He's the number 3 prospect in baseball. Oh, you're wondering who the number 2 prospect in baseball is? Oh, well, he's this guy they have in AAA, Alfredo Matos, international amateur signing. I mean, this team is just stacked. All right, I think I found our Mick Abel deal here for the San Francisco Giants. Mick Abel, we are going to send him to San Francisco. And then we are getting back a group of 4 players here in Jeff Wingarden, who is, we've gone over him. He's this high contact with some decent power, gap power, and eye to go with it. Some solid corner outfield defense. We are banking on him taking a step in another season in the big leagues here, playing every day for us in a role as a key piece for us. And he's going to be our right fielder this year. And we're going to see how that goes with him. He's, on a league minimum deal. He's only got a year and 34 days in the big leagues. So he accomplishes our goal of getting a bit cheaper at that position, getting out from Mick Abel's contract. Not that it's a big contract, but, we just have... We're trading from a strength to acquire a good corner outfield bat, and then also picking up some interesting arms here. The best of the bet being Chris Livonis, who is a high stuff, decent movement, a little bit below average control, and then 3 really good pitches here in fastball, slider, curveball, 70, 70, and 75. And this guy is an Andrew Healy type, where he could even give you some starting potential here. Definitely view him as more of a reliever right now, but he is definitely somebody who could start for you eventually. He did start for them, was not good, so he's probably going to go into our bullpen to start this season, but he's absolutely like somebody who, the type of reliever that we like to have. Guys can go multiple innings, and they can give you starts if you need them too. So that's what we like to have in the bullpen. This guy, he fits our philosophy here. He's got plenty of options, and... he's a New Jersey guy, Holmdel, New Jersey, went to the very nasty Christian Brothers Academy, which, if you guys watch hockey, you might have heard of Christian Brothers Academy because that is where the Van Riemsdyk brothers went. And then we are also going to be bringing back old friend William Schmidt. After all, folks, he is going to get to the big leagues with the Anaheim Angels. He's back. The man we took and just did not pan out. We left him exposed in the expansion draft. He gets taken in round 14 of the expansion draft by the Expos. The Expos get him to the big leagues. He made his debut there. They traded him to the Giants for this interesting first base type player who they're not playing quite yet. But Mike Haggerty is on their team now. So, yeah, William Schmidt is going to be coming back to Anaheim here, folks. He's got really good personality with the leader. We've got a ton of leaders on this roster now. Like I said, he's got plenty. He has one more option year, so he's flexible as well. And he's making league minimum, of course. He doesn't even have a full year of Major League service yet. William Schmidt going to be a part of our team this season. And then Adam Serwanowski, the guy I was talking about. I'm seeing that name now, and it's immediately popping in my head. If any of you follow Grant Brisbee on Twitter, that guy is responsible for many brainworms of mine over the years, one of which is when Mike Yastrzemski first came up, and he started tweeting out Mike Yastrzemski as a meme over, I don't know what the girl's name is, but the Mike Wazowski girl from Monsters, Inc., immediately popping in my mind that Grant Brisbee's got some stuff going on with this guy in his brain, in this universe. So yeah, Adam Serwanowski is going to be coming to the Los Angeles Angels here in Anaheim. And that's the package. We're going to go Wingarden, Livonis, Schmidt, and Serwanowski. 3 interesting reliever types who can give you some depth, give you some multi-inning stuff with a guy who's going to play right field for us. And then we just had to throw in Will Gasparino to make it work. Now, Will Gasparino could play a corner for us, but he's just, his time has passed. We claimed him on waivers from Toronto, gave him a chance. He just did not work out. He has the big power, but he doesn't really have enough BABIP to like get on base consistently. He was good in AAA. We gave him a little bit of time in the big leagues, was not good. He's never really gotten a chance in the big leagues because pretty much everybody views him as like a quad A guy at this point. Like, he's a 50, but I would prefer Wingarden over him. So Gasparino we threw in the deal. We could have also thrown Skylar Hales in the deal, which, maybe we do. Because this is the group that came with where they were like, hey, were you throwing one of these guys? We'll do the deal. And the rest of these guys, I'm just not really interested in throwing in. We're obviously not going to throw Healy in, who has much more trade value than that. But Skylar Hales could be the guy we throw in because he's the guy who's been in AAA for us, putting up these just unplayable level of home run per 9 in like big sample sizes. And then was not good for. I guess he had a good FIP, but not a good ERA for us in 37 innings last year. And he's like fine, but he's not flexible. He has no more options. So if we have him on next year's team, he would have to be in the rotation, in the bullpen right away, and just guaranteed a spot, which maybe we do. But I'm curious what his value is. Like if we just go shop him around for a single player, just to get an idea of if Skylar Hales has value. Here's a 45 with an insane name, Chase Cabbage Stalk. What? Yeah. So that's the route I would prefer to go with. We also got this guy, Jarsifer Mastis, J Mascis, J Mastis. This guy's name is J Mastis. What? We've got J Mastis and Chase Cabbage Stalk as guys we might trade Skylar Hales for here. Alrighty, so the league awards have been given out here, and Jackson Chourio has once again won league MVP in the National League. That's 4 MVPs for the Brewers center fielder now. He's an absolute monster. He somehow he puts up a 7 WAR, and then he's like, I'm actually going to improve on that. And then he puts up an 8 WAR. And then he's like, I'm actually going to improve on that. Insane year. Also, who is this guy? Shelby Mullally? An Ottawa, Ontario Canadian lefty out of the University of Oregon. First-round pick in 2030, a 70-power, 40-home run season as a rookie. I'd have to imagine he's probably Rookie of the Year as well. But yeah, runner-up in the MVP. And then Mason Wynn doing things as a wrecked player. He's wrecked and still putting up numbers like this. That's insane. Probably not going to be some pretty years here towards the end of this contract. But, St. Louis, they're quite a wagon, folks. They also get the Cy Young and Andres Zamora. Matt Manning, who the Reds tried to pawn off to us, was on that list as well. They also had Luke Pettit get or Petit, whatever. That is Pettit, right? That's gotta be Andy Pettit's kid. Gotta be. But anyways, he also gets at Cy Young votes, and then not Jared Parker, Jim Parker. The American League Cy Young, Trey Savage, deserved. A's all around, great year for them. Yuri Perez getting votes. Yes, sir. Andrew Healy getting votes as a stopper. We love it. The National League manager was Brett Rudrud of the St. Louis Cardinals. Former player, apparently. Minor leaguer. Brett Rudrud. What a name. The guy has been at the helm for all these insane runs they've been making, just consistently going up. The American League skipper, Mark Kotze. Wow! That's crazy! He's still there! That's crazy! I would have figured that after all these years that makes this A's run even better. I mean, you gotta feel good about that. Mark Kotze still around, and he finally breaks through with a solid year. They made the playoffs one other time. 2027. That's just a wild year in this sim for whatever reason. But yeah, Mark Kotze, what a story. Minnesota right fielder. Yep, Shelby Mullally was the Rookie of the Year, like I thought. American League. Ian Devlin of the A's, we saw him with the 70 power, the 70 gap power. Incredible year for him, 4 WAR, big part of why they just made this huge jump and made on this one of this big run. Great player for them. National League Silver Sluggers, you've got Yanir Diaz, Arturo Trevino, the Cardinals first baseman, Wahia Aloy, or whatever his name is. I know who this is, I just don't know how to pronounce it off the top of my head. The Sac State transfer at Arkansas in real life. He gets the Silver Slugger at second base. Ellie De La Cruz, another red. Mason Wynn, Emmanuel Rodriguez, Jackson Churio, Shelby Mullally. And then there's that Jonathan Whitmer guy who we thought about possibly trading for. American League, Silver Sluggers, Francisco Alvarez, Vlad Guerrero, Jackson Holliday, Tyler Spangler with the Yankees. This beast, 51 home run season, 8 WAR. Did not end up getting MVP, but he was probably up there, wasn't he? Where is American League? Oh, no, he did. He did get MVP. Did I just completely skip over American League MVP? Because Nolan Shanuel, top 4. Look at that, folks. And then also Juan Soto getting some votes in there as well. Love to see that. 2 Angels getting votes. Shanuel top 5. Great. Love to see it. So let's go back to the Silver Sluggers here. Spangler. Jeff Hess, the shortstop for the Rockies. Not a very great defender. Yeah, pretty bad, honestly, as a defender, but overall, pretty solid player to have for them. Put up 3 really solid years here in the big leagues. Also won the batting title for them, so yeah, solid shortstop for the Colorado. There's the Don guy, the Dutch Arubian. He, with the Yankees here, their first baseman. Edgar Polito, center fielder for the Dodgers. Andres Carrasco, right fielder for the Mariners, put up a good season. He's been their right fielder for 3 years now. And he literally went from A-ball to the big leagues. He little over 150 ABs in the minor leagues, and they were like, that's fine. Also, barely even played. Is that his draft year? Yeah, his draft year. He went 38th supplemental round, straight from this tiny sample size to the big leagues, and he's just like, I'm insane. No need to worry. Incredible stuff. And then DH Juan Soto, of course. We're kind of getting screwed here by Vladdy being in our division, with Shanuel getting screwed out of some awards. But at least we've got Soto picking up some hardware to add to the old trophy here. Why is that on OSA? Put that on Head Scout. What am I doing? Best NL reliever, Steve Laird of the Minnesota Twins. Looks like a pretty solid reliever, ground ball pitcher. We all know I love it. Single inning guy for the most part, though. Jack Cushing, single inning guy. Yeah, nobody on our team getting votes here. Andre Pallant. Shout out to the guy who follows me on Twitter, whose name is Andre Pallant Enjoyer or something like that. I forget exactly what it is, but shout out to you. I know you were getting hyped when he had, I think it was 2026, he won NL Reliever of the Year. Not quite Cy Young level, but he is back with the Cardinals after leaving them and putting up good numbers once again. I actually thought about signing him in the offseason, but I just thought this price tag was too expensive. So the Cardinals, I guess nothing matters to them, and they just do devil magic constantly. AL Reliever of the Year. Our man Andrew Healy gets gypped out of the award winner. Barely getting edged out by Adbert Alzolay of the New York Yankees. You got to think that's East Coast bias, if you ask me. I mean, this guy's got an absolutely insane profile. If I was them, I would be constantly trying to up his stamina. And, come on, you got to give it to Healy. This guy's a single inning guy. I mean, the fact that he's putting up this type of WAR with giving up single inning appearances, I mean, that is crazy. Look at these shutdowns. I mean, holy hell. Yeah, Adbert Alzolay's turned into quite a closer. My goodness. And then Andrew Healy finishing second. We all know Andrew Healy. He's the damn dude. And then even Mike Lilly getting top 5 here. 4th in the Reliever of the Year votes. The National League Gold Glovers. Waldrop, Jefferson Caro, Daniel Cuvée, Joe Jim. What a name. I mean, I feel like if you're going to be named Joe Jim, you got to be playing somewhere like Atlanta. This guy's a NASCAR driver. Joe Jim. Driving the old... I can't think of a sponsor quick enough, but you get the point. Joe Jim here. getting the second base. He listed as third base, but he got the second base Silver Slugger. I'm not really sure why. You're telling me they didn't have another second baseman in the entire national? Oh, this was Gold Glove. I'm an idiot. I'm looking at this and I'm like, holy shit, this guy got Silver Slugger? I'm an idiot. Yeah, second base. Even then, how is he a good second baseman? He's got a 9 ZR with a 35 turn double play. That's crazy. Wow. Well, gets it done anyways. Ke'Bryan Hayes apparently on the Cardinals as a minor league free agent. You gotta be kidding me. Look at this. Look at this shit he's doing in Pittsburgh, where he had a couple like decent positive years where he couldn't hit, but he was like a decent defender. He was probably a really good defender with his bat of a bat, putting up like a 2 WAR. But then like his last 2 years in Pittsburgh, just not getting it done. You can't play every day at a corner like that. And then boom, they get him on a minor league deal and he puts up a 3 WAR triple digit WRC plus season. Are you kidding me? I mean, it's devil magic. I mean, what can you even say at this point? And then, drops down a bit this year, but he puts up a 2 WAR because he had a 9 ZR, I guess. I mean, insane. The goddamn St. Louis Cardinals. You got Mason Winn at short, Mike Ray, another 2 first names guy, playing in the South. 5 WAR for Miami. Miami loves their defense guys. They can't hit, but they've got some hell of the defenders down there. As they did parlay it into a playoff appearance this season, but they did not really do anything with that, I don't believe. But yeah, Mike Ray, Elijah Green, we could have seen that coming with his 29.4 ZR, gets the Gold Glove in center field, and then not Jackson Chourio, but Jackson Chirello, with Texas here at a Kennesaw State, picks up the Gold Glove with a 4 ZR. Come on, you gotta be giving it to people with better than that. Even his arm wasn't that great. You gotta give it to somebody better than that. Give it to Carlson. That was National League. What am I saying? So I guess Carlson, or no, we haven't looked at the American League. Bump. Carlson, let's go. Dylan Carlson, back-to-back Gold Gloves in right field. The only 2 of his career. You look at this page and you look at that right there. Boom. That's Anaheim, baby. Back-to-back season because we are smart. Just like that, Dylan Carlson. Great time in Anaheim for him, but obviously we are moving on. Hopefully he goes somewhere where they play him in a corner and they don't constantly try to force him in center. So yeah, Carlson in right. Let's go backwards here. Carlson, Jay Allen in center. Shout out to the Reds franchise that lasted for a little bit. Yeah, Giants, they're primed to be looking pretty good. Pretty scary now that they're in our division. Akil Baddoo, another Gold Glover with 8 ZR. You'll take that. Still kicking around here at age 33. Vicente Boza, the shortstop for the A's. Beans, number 11 process. They had so many guys just come up and in their rookie season just be monster for them. This guy among them. They also had third base Carson Williams with the Dodgers. Jet Williams at second base with the Mets. Boo them. Nolan Jones playing first base for the Rockies. Still just an absolute... Look at this guy. Look at this guy. Just putting up insane seasons in Colorado. They've got him signed through 2033 at 12.8. I mean, they're getting this kind of production out of a guy putting up that like making that little amount of money. What have they been doing? Nope, that's the wrong page. Were they good? No, they were awful. What is their... I'm clicking on all the wrong things. Rockies. Info. History. They've never made the playoffs in this entire sim. Rockies are gonna Rockies. And then you have Ethan Salas at catcher. He is just insane. Every year he is just the beacon of defensive catching, the 80 framing, the 80 blocking. He is the straw that stirs the drink, you could say. I don't know why that popped in my head. I think I heard Chris Burke say that on squeeze play at some point. Hallelujah, folks. Jeremiah Estrada, we rolled the dice, and boy, did we win. Jeremiah Estrada declined the QO, and he is going to be going into free agency like we were rolling the dice on. So we get a we're gonna get a draft pick when he signed with somebody. So that is good news for us. I am loving what's been happening this offseason so far. We have arrived here at opening day 2032, and it is time to go over what happened in the offseason, get everyone caught up on what this team is going to be looking like heading into the 2032 season. So, we are all aware of the Mike Broyhill trades with George Lombard to the Cardinals for Lampkin and Brunson, Miller to the Phillies for Starlin and Caba as the main piece and Chase Tucson as a reliever, and then like a minor league catcher who's pretty decent. We signed Aaron Strangfield here to be our first base coach because he's got decent ratings. First base coach, he's whatever. Hold the batting gloves. And then we have our third base coach is now Rudy Arguelles or Arguelles, whatever this guy's name is. He is our third base coach because he has good in-game running and he had good relationships with a bunch of our really good players. So that pretty self-explanatory there. Then we all know about the Mick Abel trade to the San Francisco Giants in return for Jeff Van Wingarden, Chris Lavonis, William Schmidt returning to the organization, and then Adam Serwinowski. Also, I mentioned that Alimber Santa was claimed by the Rays. I thought that was maybe because they were going to extend him. That is not what happened. They let him go into free agency. Maybe they tried to extend him, but they let him go into free agency. And his time with the Rays lasted like a couple weeks, and then the Blue Jays signed him to a $3.2 million contract, which was way less than what he was asking for when I was looking at free agency. I would have easily brought him in on that if I noticed he was available still for that price. But, you live and you learn. Santa's not like he was very good for us, but we have some dudes who give us a similar profile right now. We actually could use him in the rotation, believe it or not, but we'll get into that in a little bit. Then we also made a move where we traded Skylar Hales and just some throw-in prospect, who's not even a prospect, to the Los Angeles Dodgers for Chase Cabbage stock, and then the other guy we threw in was Arturo Puga. He is, interesting depth arm piece. He's whatever. Then in December, we started making some moves. The start of the month, we signed Juan Padilla to a 10-year, $98.7 million extension. Juan Padilla is here long-term, folks. The 65 grade, looking like he's going to be an absolute monster for us, basically wherever we decide to play him. He's playing third base for us, but it looks like he's able to play basically anywhere at a very high level. He's incredible. What can we say? Juan Padilla here put up a 3 WAR last year in his first full season as a everyday player. We are expecting big things from him, and it's a very reasonable deal. It's 10 years. But it's all very manageable. It's 1.5. These are all arbitration years, and then it's 13.5 for a bunch of buying at free agency years, and then 13.5 for 2 team option years. So even if he does play this whole thing, he's still only signed through age 34, which is obviously pretty long in the tooth to think about it now because he's only 24. But I feel like this is a thing worth taking, a chance worth taking. I was doing deals like this left and right in my Royals sim that I mention all the time, because with the Royals, you kind of have to do this. If you get a guy like this who puts up one season, you got to roll the dice and be like, okay, I believe in our player development. I believe in the player. We want him long term, so let's just sign him to something like this where we can lock him in. And not have to worry about him wanting $30 million when he gets to the end of arbitration. So Juan Padilla, we're hoping that he's going to way outplay this deal, and we've got ourselves a bit of a bargain here. So Juan Padilla has been extended long term. Then we also went out and picked up a new stud reliever in Chase Petty, the New Jersey man from Mainland Regional. He's pretty much, he's got a really sick profile, honestly. Extreme ground ball. Still throws, mid-90s. He's not high 90s like he is in real life, I believe. But movement 60, home run suppression 60, 65 control. He's got a good sinker slider combo going there, and he's put together some decent seasons here. He's coming off a really good year in the bullpen, I should say, or a decent season. Solid season, I should say. He's had a couple good seasons in Cincinnati's rotation, but he's had some up and down years too. But I do like his profile, and that's why we signed him. Plus, he was cheap. He's only $2 million. We also have him on a second year possible for a team option at the same exact price. So Chase Petty could be on next year's team as well. But at the very least, he's on this year's team, being an extreme ground ball, limiting home runs, not walking guys. We love the stuff. We are not the stuff, but we love the profile, I should say. We love the stamina. He's a stopper for us. It should be obvious. And then we also went out and picked up a new left-handed pitcher in Hagen Smith to a $1.2 million deal. He's currently in AAA, but he'll be back up. He will be up here. We signed him with the intention of being a reliever. Obviously, he's a starter in AAA because that's just where AAA wants him. But if he's ever in the big leagues, he will never be starting. He's just an interesting lefty guy. He's got the side armor profile, so he's got the better splits against lefties. And he's got really good 3-pitch mix here with the fastball, the slider, and the curveball. Has really good stuff. Has the multi-inning capability. He's a lefty. We needed some of those. We have a bunch of similar rating lefty guys now that we don't have Lopez to trust in that spot anymore. So Hagen Smith is among those guys that we have. Plus, he's also very popular, so he gives us a boost to that. Former first-round pick. Actually, I think he was a supplemental round pick, so still first round, but supplemental rounds. Or no, I don't think that counts as first round, but you know what I mean. He's the first supplemental round, 34th overall pick by the Brewers out of University of Arkansas. Another one of those guys where it's if you even pay slight attention to college baseball, you know who Hagen Smith is. He did not pan out in this world. He had, major leagues. Didn't even make it to the major leagues till 23 and 2027, and just never did anything. And he was also taken by the Brewers, and they just pretty much gave up on him. He got sent to the Astros for a bunch of dudes, including Brian Abreu, and he's just never really panned out. But, I think he's an interesting enough profile with the reliever, and then plus he has this stuff going on for him. So he's in the system, he's whatever. And then we also made a trade with Patrick Forbes. We sent him to the New York Mets. Forbes was our 6th-round pick, I believe, in 2025. 6th-round pick, 2025 in Louisville. He is just somebody who never really panned out for us. He's about to be 28 years old. I keep accidentally back-clicking like that. His profile looks like he should be good, but he just never is. He's never performed for us. When he gets chances, he gives up too many home runs. He doesn't strike out people. He walks too many guys. He just doesn't perform like his profile says he should. And then especially since he's not a starter like we thought he was going to be, I just figured we would move on from him. I shopped him, and the Mets gave us by far the most interesting package because I was going into the deadline, or in the offseason, one of the things I wanted to pick up was an interesting lefty bat we could have as a real big bopper, pinch hitter type who can play here and there, and maybe possibly slot into our lineup maybe in a couple seasons. And they delivered on that, let me tell you. Elliot LaFontaine, the Toronto native, went to Fresno State. Bit of a weird combo there, the switch hitter. 25 years old. He's got 60 power, 60 eye, with a decent BABIP as well, and not a big strikeout profile either. 45 right now is not the greatest, but he does have the potential to get to 50. Gap power is obviously not the greatest, but he has the potential to give us a decent amount of home runs and walk a bunch, and then also not strike out a ton while playing a decent first base. Like I said, I picked him up to be a bench lefty bat for us. And what do you know? He's got a good bat against both sides. So, Elliot LaFontaine, the Trash Master, Trash Masterson. So now let's take a look at how our programs went here in the offseason. You can see I have it just sorted by just program. So these are here and down is last year's. But we're starting off with Amari Collar here, who did have an outstanding improvement where he improved his current movement by 5 and the potential by less than 5. So Amari Collar looking pretty good, and he is going to be in the rotation here to start this season, as we will get into a little bit here. And then Alvaro Dad, unfortunately, did not improve. He actually got worse. His BABIP and his power dropped by less than 5, which is not, the end of the world, but it is disappointing because we were trying to tap into this gap power potential. And it backfired, folks. But luckily, it didn't backfire too much. I've had a couple not great things happen in the dev lab with the Royal Sim I always talk about, where I've tried to do stuff, and guys, like, not only do they have something minor like that, they'll just be like, oh, actually, now I'm useless because my power dropped 10 points. Stuff like that. But luckily, we haven't had anything happen like that, but still, Alvaro Dad is slotted to be in our shortstop this season, which we, once again, will get into in a few minutes. Fletcher Clancy, we decided to improve his quality of contact. He was successful. His BABIP did improve by less than 5. Minor improvement, but it still is an improvement. Anthony Murphy, another guy who got a poor thing, we tried to improve his we tried to improve his bat speed, and he ended up just dropping his strikeout rate a little bit. Or his strikeout rating is now a little bit worse, but it's not noticeable here on the page. It could have went from like 35 to like 32, so who cares? And then we also have Luis Luna, who got a successful plate discipline program. He improved by less than 5. He's an interesting bat. He's got the discipline. He's got the back gap power. He's got the speed. And then we'll also get in a little bit here in a second. Giandrea Morfin did not improve. Gordy Henning did improve his plate discipline, which is good to see. Less than 5, though. Chris Lesnar improved his strikeout rating by less than 5. And then, this year, I was smart and actually did remember to put them in immediately for a second go of things. So, Aiden Huzzy, we put him in as a second baseman to try to improve that defense, because I think he is a guy who could potentially replace Zach Neto for us at second base here, possibly even next season. But Aiden Huzzy did not improve his second base defense, but he's still, good enough. He's going to be in Double-A to start this season. I thought he was worth putting in the lab. Chris Lesnar improved his defense in left field by decent amounts. You can see here it's now jumped up to a 70 in left, a 65 potential in right. He's entering the year as a starting left fielder, and we're expecting big things with this power and gap power profile he's got here, with some decent eye and BABIP as well. So locked in on Chris Lesnar. And then Fletcher Clancy, we put him in for base stealing technique, because I've never done that before, and I was like, he's got 65 speed, but he can't steal bases. So, like, I wasn't expecting, like, a huge thing, but now we know that it's not that. We probably should have went defense or somebody else, but I was just kind of curious what would happen if we put him in. I don't think he's ever going to be he's not ever going to be a base stealer. So Fletcher Clancy, it is whatever. He improved slightly with that. We also threw James Barajas here. Very interesting spelling of James. He was a guy we took in the 5th round in 2029. He's an interesting possible shortstop guy, high work ethic, intelligence. I thought he'd be a bit more interesting if we could improve his shortstop, which is obviously a long shot in the dev lab. But, his bat is not really good enough to be like a third baseman. So I was thinking, if we get his shortstop improved, he's much more interesting. But he did not do that, unfortunately. Anthony Murphy did improve his right field, so that's good to see. 65 in right, 65 with a 70 potential on left. Once again, he's starting in AAA, but he is a very interesting player who probably will be up at some point. And then we also tried to improve Luis Luna's defense. Luckily, no notable changes happened. He just basically got back to where he was in the training. Luna, basically, I was just trying to make him more playable at second base. He's still playable there, but he's not going to be anything too crazy. He's definitely more of a first baseman who doesn't hit home runs at this point. Who doesn't hit as many home runs as you think a first baseman would, but he can give you some run at second base. He's just never going to be like a great defensive second baseman, and he has no outfield capability. So Luis Luna, it's whatever. Nolan Shanuel, we put him in, or Shanuel, now I don't know how to pronounce it. Nolan Shanuel, whatever it is. We improved his first base defense a little bit just to get some more in there. It's fine. We unfortunately were not able to re-sign him, and right now we do have our budget at only $17 million for extensions, which means we cannot sign him right now because he wants more than $17 million for next season. If we take a look here, we have our player dev set to $25 mil and our scouting set to $15 mil. So that is why we pumped those up, and basically we're going into this last year for Shanuel, and in the offseason we will take a look at his thing once again. But, yeah, so he improved first base. We're going to take a look at him again in the start of next offseason because we would like to bring him back. It's probably going to come down to clearing out some money. We do have a possible opening on next year's team with Zach Neto having a team option. And it really just comes down to who do I want more? Do I want Zach Neto or do I want Shanuel? And really it comes down to Neto is obviously a very good player for us. And like maybe it's dumb to like not go for a guy who plays up the middle even if it is second base. But he is fragile. You know, we love Neto. Obviously we would like to keep them both if we could. For at least next season. But Zach Neto, if we wanted to clear space, we could possibly try to open his deal up and get him out for not bringing on this $20 million for next season, and instead allocating that money into whatever else we have left for next year and re-signing Shanuel, because we want to bring him back. We want him to be an Angel for a long time, hitting 35-plus bombs every year. That's just too valuable to our lineup to let go, and I feel like it's probably a little bit easier to replace Neto. Maybe I'm foolish for saying that. Maybe, you know, we can easily find a first baseman, but, I mean, Shanuel is that level of first baseman where it's like, this dude is the type of first baseman you pay for. You know, we could go like the Brewers route and just kind of like, you know, patchwork first base every year. But I don't want to really want to do that. And like I've said, it's much more fun to have this guy around long term. And then the final thing we did in the Dev Lab was John Harrington, who was our 8th round pick in 2029. Interesting, similar bat to Anthony Murphy, but he's an infielder. He can play a little bit of corner outfield, but not really. He's more of a third baseman / first baseman. But like I said, interesting bat, possible 65 power, 65 eye, 55 gap, 50 BABIP. Put up solid seasons in A-ball and then AA. He's going to be in AAA to start this year. Another, you know, interesting, not really starter, blow anybody away sort of guy, but definitely a very interesting bench depth piece to have as well. And unfortunately, he was not able to improve his defense, which is what we put him in the lab for, to improve his defense at third. But it's, you know, it's solid enough. It's whatever. And now let's take a look at our pitching staff here. I've been hinting that Collar is indeed in the rotation this season, and that is because Kaneda is back. Yes, he even had a really good return from his injury. It's not going to say here, but at one point, what did it say in his injury history? No. But when he got that torn rotator cuff, he actually came back like 8 to 10 weeks sooner because his rehab went so well, and he's still normal, so you'll love to see that. But this is not good, folks. He's a closer. He's not even a stopper. We can't even have him in a stopper role. He's you pitch one inning, and at the end of that inning, you're gassed for 2 days sort of guy. Like, you can't even throw 2 days in a row with 25 stamina, really. This guy that's really disappointing because we have him signed for this season and 3 more years at $15 million. And I've talked many times about how we do not pay relievers that amount of money, but Kaneda has forced our hand here. We literally cannot start him. He has to be a closer, and he better be a damn good elite one. He better be like Bruce Dargratterall for us with this high movement and high control. It's just what we need. It's just what needs to happen. He has a great nickname as a closer, but you know, hopefully he's able to do it for us. Yeah, he's entering the season as our closer here, and our rotation is Lampkin, Perez, Healy, Collar, and Zach Gallen, who has dropped down to a 45 in his age, entering about to be 37 season. So yeah, that's our rotation, and then in the bullpen, we've got Kaneda as the closer, stopper, or we have a 3-headed stopper, all 7th in close game. Yeah, all 7th in close game with high leverage on all these guys. Mike Lilly, Chase Petty, and Eric Rose. Chase Petty, like I said, we signed in the offseason. Eric Rose and Lilly returned from last year. And then in the middle relief, we have Adam Serwanowski, as the lefty specialist sort of player. He's the lone lefty in the bullpen. And then William Schmidt is going to be on the Angels this year, folks. William Schmidt is indeed a part of this year's bullpen as a high leader, work ethic, intelligence guy. Really good personality. I think he's going to be a decent reliever with these ratings. We trust him. So William Schmidt, he's a part of the team, at least to start, and he has options, so he's flexible. Or he has one option, I should say, so he's flexible. And then Chris Lavonis, the man from Christian Brothers Academy, who we picked up from the Giants, along with Schmidt, is going to be also in the middle relief for us with a 3-pitch mix here, 65 stuff, green movement, 45 control, and the multi-inning capability. He and Schmidt are both middle relief with secondary long relief roles to give us some multi-innings when they need to. So yeah, that's the bullpen, and then we take a look at our lineups. We have Juan Soto. This is the same against righties and lefties. Just a little bit of changes on the bench here, but Juan Soto DH, Logan O'Hoppe catcher, Zach Nowta second, Sean Ewell first, the same top 4 we've had for many years now. Juan Padilla 5th, Chris Lesnar 6th, Jeff Van Wingarden in right field, hitting 7th. Chase Brunson is our center fielder, playing center, or hitting 8th. And Alvaro Dowd is our shortstop, hitting 9th, the UT man, with the 70 range. And then our backups, Dave Peters, the catcher, Elliot LaFontaine, the trash Masterson, is the backup first baseman and DH. The backup infielder is Starlin Capa. He's also the main pinch runner. And then Gutierrez is the main corner outfielder, and Gavin Turley is the backup corner, is like the second-tier corner outfielder, and then the backup center fielder. So that is what our team looks like. And then Gutierrez does get some more ABs against lefty bats, just because he's too good of a lefty bat not to get in the lineup. And then he's also going to be the main pinch hitter against lefties. And then both of our corner outfielders are really good defenders this year. So there's really no point in having Gutierrez as listed as a defensive sub here like I would do previously. But obviously he's still going to get a decent chunk of time here. And he, anybody gets hurt, he could easily slot in and play a position for us. But yeah, that is our lineup here. Our depth chart heading into 2032. I like where the team is at. I'm excited for this season, and we're starting the year off against the Baltimore Orioles.